Welcome back to Thailand ChitChat. Today we've got our Pattaya Report with Craig McAvenny. So, hi Craig. So, how was your trip? You're just back from Italy, yeah, isn't it? And Switzerland.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I had a holiday. First time I'd been back home to Jersey for 3.5 years, for obvious reasons. Then on the back end of that, after visiting family, I went on a holiday in Europe, which took in some of France, some of Switzerland, and some of Italy, which was very nice. But you certainly, appreciate what you've got back here in Pattaya after visiting those places, not least because of the cost of living.
Right, so what big, you say you sort of appreciate Thailand, Pattaya. What was the differences?
Convenience. I mean, everything is so convenient here, and you don't get that in Europe. I mean, things like, the Grab Express or whatever it might be, or the Grab bikes, or the food pandas and the food deliveries and all that sort of thing. And quite frankly, whilst we got to eat well and we had some nice meals, pretty much every type of meal that you could get over there, whether it's French or Italian, you can almost get the same quality here in Pattaya for a fraction of the price. So yeah, I think sometimes when you see these guys who are whinging about the cost of an English breakfast has gone up 10 or 20 baht, then sometimes they don't realize how lucky they are, with the quality and price that you get in Thailand in general, but dare I say when it comes to food, especially in Pattaya.
How did you feel about the flights and the process you had to go through to go and come back?
The flight was probably only about a quarter full on the way to London, which was surprising because I went with Eva, which is one of only two now which are doing directs, because of course British Airways, I think they're pulled out until when? Is it middle of next year? They've certainly
Nothing
postponed any
fixed.
flights till then. Nothing this year for sure. I think it's maybe April or the middle of next year that they said they would resume flights to Bangkok. So right now, if you want to go direct, then you're left with just Eva or Thai Airways. And yeah, I mean, look, you're talking, a quarter full, the plane, which was surprising, especially given the costs are quite high. I mean, coming back was a lot busier. I mean, we actually came back from Milan, but that was that was pretty much full. But going out was really really empty. Coming back into Thailand at the moment, those TM6s, which I'm sure all of us have probably filled in God knows how many over the years, and I often wonder about the warehouses that must be stacked, full of those little blue and white forms, are a thing of the past. So that obviously speeds things up. Everything's done biometrically now. Thailand's finally caught up with other countries on that, so it's fingerprints. So yeah, I mean that side of things, immigration and everything seems really, really smooth.
Okay. Yeah, just to remind people, just because the TM6 form is not there, it does not mean the 90-day rule has changed. You still have to do your report 90 days, which can be done online. Yeah. Okay, so some other news was these fires. 18 people were killed, and I think there's been a few more fires. And the reason I'm bringing it up, not to repeat the news, is the reason it's happening is that the authorities are not doing their job.
Yeah, I mean it's a
They're just
tragedy.
checking.
Obviously, I think there was 18 people that were killed.
That's right.
I think, and as you say, you have seen it all too often in Thailand, where for whatever reasons, I don't know the story behind this, and I don't want to comment on, any sort of blame or anything along those lines. But the health and safety regulations, whilst we may get a bit frustrated with them in the Western world and see them as anal and over the top, when it comes to countries like Thailand, they need to be
Yeah. Well,
they need to be strengthened.
just the basic background was there was a pub called Mountain B, and it's in Sattahip, and a whole lot of young people, yeah, young being younger than us, were in there. And they had fire exit, but the fire exits were locked. Basically, reason being that they didn't want people letting their friends in. Yeah, and there was one exit. Now the place had soundproofing because of neighbours. It was basically a townhouse sort of style, from what I understand. and they had soundproofing, which is that foam, which is not fire retardant. So the fire just took off, and there was one exit. And I think there was about 100 more people in there at the time, yeah, and they couldn't get out. So 18 people were killed. Some people went into the bathroom and basically, obviously, smoke, yeah, tried to hide in the bathroom or escape the fire, yeah. So there was heavy carnage. Now the place didn't have a license either. It had a license to have a restaurant, so it was an illegal pub. But my point is that, for inspections and things like that, it's just not done properly. I mean, how could a place be open as a pub, receiving alcohol, all that, without having a license? And if it's there, someone must know it's there. And do they have the certificates? I just find it.
Well, unfortunately, it's the corruption, isn't it? That's the key to all of this, I mean, as we know, and it's not a point that I want to labour by any means. It's what the rules are and what people adhere to. There's often a gap in Thailand, and the reason why that gap exists is because you can basically dodge the rules by paying your way out, right, or doing it in a different way. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think enough said about that, because obviously very sad for the people involved. And
absolutely.
Let's just hope that the knock-on effect of it is that that it doesn't happen again, or things are
they've
changed.
clamped down. They've clamped down. They're doing a lot of checks nationwide, which is good to see.
Well, let's hope so. It's a bit like the gun thing in the US, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time somebody there's a shooting in the US. Oh yeah, no, well, we've got to do something about it, and then nothing happens.
So I was down I went down to Pattaya the other week, and we're staying in a dog hotel. It's a hotel that allows dogs. It isn't. I must admit, my dogs really used it as a hotel. Yeah. So we've got 2 dogs, and we took them to this place called the Zion Villa, and it's down in Nuklua. Yeah, and there's an okay beach just across the road, yeah. So the dogs are allowed to stay there, and it was absolutely fantastic. It had facilities for the dogs, yeah. So they can run around, walk over bridges, going through pipes and going round things and blah blah blah. But very, very, very good. Highly impressed, because it's very difficult to find places that you can take your dogs, right? And the dogs went swimming for the first time in the sea. Which was fantastic. But I just thought I should mention that, but because when we're driving along and seeing things, I actually thought Pattaya was really not busy, but pleasantly busy.
I don't think it's a million miles away from, an average sort of low season, because it is low season. I think perhaps because a lot of businesses have, gone out of business, the number of restaurants and bars is less, so therefore I suppose the people go to those places, so they seem busier. I actually did my first, just before after the last chit chat, but before my trip, I actually did my first trip down to Walking Street. I had a friend in town from overseas for the first time, probably since maybe 6 months, maybe even more, before COVID hit. So it'd been a long time since I've been there. That's certainly a shadow of its former self. And I think that kind of, feeds into what we spoke about in the past about, Pattaya's desire to, regenerate that area to make it a bit more sort of family orientated, and then have more the nightclubs and the go-go bars and what have you, zoned in different areas. So I think that's certainly something which, from what I could gather, to hazard a guess, I mean, probably 1 in 4 bars or nightclubs were probably open, right, down there, and it's certainly, obviously having known what Walking Street was in its heyday, and the huge amount of people and the buzz around it, to see it like that was quite sad in a way, but all good things must come to an end.
Yeah, so we also went down to Jomtien, yeah. And when you first arrive in Jomtien, I was looking for this expansive beach, yeah. And when you go to, it hadn't changed for the first maybe kilometre, yeah. It was the same sort of short, small beach. Suddenly, it opened up into this massive beach area. They have done an absolutely fantastic job. The only thing I would comment on is they've got to keep it clean, because not their fault, because a lot of stuff comes in through the tide, yeah. But it was really, really good, once again with the dogs, and they loved it, yeah. So, yeah, I was impressed. And I can see the improvements that they're trying to make across Pattaya, yeah, and Jomtien, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, I think
Impressed.
as you say, there is a lot going on behind the scenes, and Pattaya Beach itself has definitely improved in the last few years. Again, ironically, I think COVID probably did have a positive impact on the beach, its cleanliness and whatever. And I think, again, the people are seeing that it is actually a nice beach. I mean, after all, that's why people went there in the first place. But then when it got overpopulated and too many people using it, it clearly became a bit dirty and a bit warm. But since then, it's as you say, as with Jomtien, it's improving. And
the figures just now, they're saying they're expecting 9.5 million tourists to come to Thailand within a total of the year. Yeah, so it's still a lot lower than it was before, but I think there are more people coming than the reality side that people expected. Yeah.
yeah, there is a lot of talk about Pattaya kind of increasing the opportunities for fun, shall we say? Because after all, or Thailand as a whole, Thailand is a fun place to come. A lot of people come to party, come to enjoy themselves, and a few areas there, the increase in the opening hours. There's talk about making closing 4 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. in zonal areas. Pattaya being one of those that was mentioned, along with places like Patong Beach and Koh San Road. I think we all know that there was always places you could go and get a drink after hours, but of course, if it's legal and there's more things going on, then that improves it. And the other big new industry, which again I'm not 100% sure on the legalities of it all, but it seems pretty open, is of course people have been able to go out and enjoy smoking a spliff in the street now, which of course, even as 6 months ago was a crime. And now there's some areas in Pattaya, and I see them in Bangkok, and I know that some of the businesses that are heavily invested in the entertainment industry are looking at rolling out these whether they're sort of cafes like you get in Amsterdam, or whether yeah, rolling out. Yeah, I just got that. Yeah, that wasn't intended, by the way, but I'll take it.
Oh, it was a good one. It was a good one.
Yeah, these places are cropping up, and the ones I saw in Alkay, they were like booths, and then behind you have all maybe 8 or 9 different types of weed which you can buy by the gram, and you've got a person there who can advise on what they are and that type of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly that's one thing you've got to say about Thailand is when they commit to something, they do it. They don't go half baked into things. This is it now, and suddenly a switch has been turned. And I'm listening to a lot of people who are very interested in investing in this business, because it's big business. You've got a lot of people out there that prefer smoking weed to having a drink and whatever.
I just got this picture in my head of the parents with the kids, yeah, and they're saying, right, we're going to get these kids. They're not going to sleep, so they just open the door, yeah, with all this smoke, stick the kids in there, close it for 5 minutes, bring them out. Right, we'll take them to bed now. So everyone's got a line of kids going in to get stoned. Put them to bed.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No, there's. I mean, as you say, whether you're for it or against it, whether you enjoy it or you don't like it, at the end of the day, there's a market out there for it. And I think if
Well, the
Thailand
market's
is
always
able
been
to,
there, isn't it? It's always been there.
if
It's just hidden.
I think we know that we have a problem in Thailand with people, drinking and driving, which is already in place. You get these guys flying around on their motorcycles. There doesn't seem to be the checks at like, midnight or whatever when there's the busy times, because I guess the police are busy doing other things. So people drive drunk, and then now if they're getting drunk and they're getting stoned and they're driving whilst drunk and stoned, then potentially I think you have a few problems there.
I think a lot of it.
But hey, it's part and parcel of what's sort of.
I think a lot of it falls around the enforcement. Yeah? There's a lot of laws there. There's a lot of good laws there. Some very ambiguous, but I think it all comes down to enforcement. Yeah, I mean, the thing to do with helmets, people are going out, and it's just, can't the police turn around and see that someone's just slapping them in the face in a way, by not following the law?
I mean, I hope they don't use this weed situation, as leverage with, grey areas in the law and that, because again, without going into any detail, I'm seeing the odd, announcement from such and such governor, you cannot smoke marijuana in public. Well, hang on a sec. There's one place here which is set up in the public view, which has chairs and, sells rolling papers and sells the weed and whatever else. So, what is it? I mean, I don't know what the rules are, to be fair. And I don't think it's encouraged. I don't think it's encouraged to sit in a bar like someone would smoke a cigarette in an outside bar and smoke a joint. I don't think that's encouraged.
From what I understand, you can smoke it in your own home, yeah? But if you are in public and it's annoying someone complains, I think you can get a 25,000 baht fine. But once again, I've not really looked into it in any detail. So anyway, have you got anything else? Yeah. Any more news, or is...
Nothing really. I mean, I think, like I said, I was away. And so I think there was a music festival on whilst I was away. Yeah. I don't know how that went. I don't know if any listeners went to that. I mean, I did see before that they had, the kind of no smoking, no drinking. Everyone must wear a mask. There was all these rules going out, which certainly, may have come across as a bit of a killjoy. Whether that actually was the case when the festival took place, I don't know. I'd be interested to know if anyone's got any feedback. And then just coming on to the mask thing, as we know, of course, whilst there's advice out there about wearing masks in crowded places and that type of thing, with myself spending time in Pattaya and Bangkok, I have noticed that people seem much more relaxed and less inclined to wear them in Pattaya than they do in Bangkok. That's one thing I've noticed. Whether or not it's the influence of foreigners who seem to have a more relaxed approach to wearing masks than locals, or not, I don't know. But even amongst Thais and whatever, I see down in Pattaya now that no one really seems to wear one. Certainly not walking down the street. Whereas when I come to Bangkok, it still seems very much.
Yes, I agree.
Something that people do. But we'll see. And as I say, I think from the Pattaya point of view, I mean, you go to Central Department Store there, again, people are not wearing masks, certainly not foreigners. And I think that kind of almost has a knock-on effect that the Thais take a more relaxed approach. But that's not the case in Bangkok, as you'd recognise, no doubt.
Okay, listen, thanks very much for that, Craig. Welcome back again. And we'll speak soon.
Yeah, all good. Thanks again, Andrew, for having me. And as I say, fingers crossed that next month we'll have more, positive news on the numbers and the people arriving. And as I say, spending a bit of money and getting people back on their feet.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you later.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching the show. We've got some other videos coming up next week, so I'll speak to you then. Bye-bye.